Good morning, students. Today I will discuss the subject Environmental Science and Engineering. Unit 1 Ecosystem and Biodiversity. So, what are the topics discussed in the unit? Environment and then ecosystem. So, what is ecosystem? What are the types? How to conserve the ecosystem? And then biodiversity. So, what is biodiversity? Types of biodiversity, threats to biodiversity, how to conserve the biodiversity. So, first one environment. So environment means surroundings. So environment word derived from French word. So environment is nothing but each and everything around us is called as environment. So environment, there are in what is environment? Environmental engineering, environmental education, and environmental studies. So first one, environment. So environment means sum of total of all living and non-living things around us influencing one another. That means environment. So the second one, environmental science. So environmental science means study of environment, biotic and abiotic components. So biotic means living components, abiotic means non-living components. So that means biological and non-biological components and their interrelationship. So that means environmental science. Third one, environmental engineering. So environmental engineering means applications of engineering principle to the production and enhancement of quality of the environment. So how to product and quality of environment apply to engineering principle, that means environmental engineering. So next one, environmental education. So process of educating the people how to preserve the quality of environment. So that means environmental studies or environmental education. So types of environment. So there are two types of environments: natural environment, man-made environments. So natural environment obtained from the natural sources. So soil, water, air, trees. So these are natural environment. Man-made environment means created by man. That means artificial house, roads, schools. So these are man-made environments. So next one, scope of environmental studies. First one, get the awareness and sensitivity to the total environmental problems. Second one, motivate the active participation in the environmental protection. Third one, to develop skills for identifying and solving the environmental problems. So fourth one, necessity for conservation of natural resources. Fifth one, evaluate environmental programs in terms of social, economical and ecological, etc. So next one, what are the importance of environmental studies? So first one, need of development without destruction of environment. Second one, what are the different types of environment? Gain the knowledge of different types of environment. So third one, effective role in protection for environment. Fourth one, direct relation to the quality of life. Fifth one, environmental studies develop a concern and respect for the environment. So these are importance of environmental studies. So next one, ecosystem. So ecosystem means a group of organisms interacting among themselves and with the environment is known as ecosystem. So ecology. So ecology means study of ecosystem. So ecology is the study of interaction among themselves and with the environment. So ecology means study of ecosystems. So consists of biotic and abiotic components. Biotic living components, abiotic non-living components. So ecosystem means a group of organisms interacting among themselves and with the environment is known as ecosystem. So biome is a small ecosystem. So next one, types of ecosystem. Ecosystem are classified into two types. First one natural, second one artificial or man-made ecosystem. So artificial ecosystem is created by man-made source, example croplands, dams, etc. So natural ecosystem is obtained from the natural sources. So natural ecosystem is further classified into two, terrestrial and then aquatic ecosystem. So terrestrial ecosystem means related to land Aquatic ecosystem means related to water. So aquatic ecosystem is further classified into marine water and then fresh water. So marine water related to salt water, fresh water related to not contain the salt water. So fresh water is further classified into lotic and lentic. So lotic means running water, river, stream, spring. Lentic means standing water, lake, pond. So natural ecosystem, there are classified into two: terrestrial related to land, grassland, forest ecosystem, and then desert ecosystem. So aquatic ecosystem related to water, running water and then standing water. Running water means lotic, standing water means lentic. So marine ecosystem means contains salt water. So second one, artificial ecosystem created by the man-made sources, croplands, gardens, dams, etc. So next one, structure and components of ecosystem. Structure or components of ecosystem. So ecosystem, there are two major components. First one, abiotic components. Second one, biotic components. So abiotic means non-living, that means non-biological components. Biotic means living biological components. So there are two major components in ecosystem, abiotic and biotic components. So this figure shows the components of ecosystem related to biotic and abiotic components and their relationship. So abiotic means non-living, non-biological. So physical and chemical components. So physical components means climate, soil, energy, nutrients. So these are physical components. So physical components include energy, climate, raw materials. So examples: air, water, soil. Chemical components contains organic substance and then inorganic substance. So organic means proteins, lipids, carbohydrates. Inorganic means micro and macro elements. Micro means small elements, macro means large elements. So micro, aluminium, cobalt, zinc, copper. Macro elements means carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and then etc. So these are inorganic substances. So biotic means living components, that means biological components. So biotic components, there are autotrophic and heterotrophic components. Autotrophic means can prepare their own food, that means autotrophic components. Autotrophic members are producer. So autotrophic components means can prepare their own food, depend on others, that means autotrophic components, members are producer. So example, green plants, algae, bacteria. Heterotrophic components cannot prepare their own food, depend on others, that means heterotrophic components. Members of heterotrophic components, consumer. So consumer, primary consumer, secondary consumer, and then tertiary consumer, and then decomposer. So these are heterotrophic components, consumer and decomposer. So biotic components and then classification of biotic components. Biotic components are classified into three: producer, consumer, and then decomposer. So producer is a autotrophic components, consumer and decomposer is a heterotrophic components. So autotrophic components means can prepare their own food. Heterotrophic components means cannot prepare their own food, depend on others. That means heterotrophic components. So first one, producer can prepare their own food through photosynthesis reactions. So example, all green plants, trees. So photosynthesis reactions, carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight converted into carbohydrates. That means photosynthesis reaction. So carbon dioxide CO2 plus water molecule H2O. So is converted into carbohydrate C6H12O6. That means carbohydrates. So this process is called photosynthesis. Producer can prepare their own food through photosynthesis reactions. So example, all green plants. Consumer cannot prepare their own food, depend on the directly or indirectly on the producer. So consumer, there are classified into three: primary consumer, secondary consumer, and then tertiary consumer. Primary consumer is called as a herbivores, that means plant eaters. primary consumer is called as a herbivores, is called another name means plant eaters. So directly depend on the plants. So example insect, rat, so etc. So primary consumer means plant eaters, members, herbivores. So secondary consumer means primary carnivores, that means meat eaters. So directly depend on the herbivores for their food. So example frogs, cat, snake, etc. So tertiary consumer cannot prepare their own food, depend on secondary consumer. So it's also called as a meat eaters, secondary carnivores. So consumer are classified into three: primary consumer, secondary consumer, and then tertiary consumer. So primary consumer means plant eaters called as a herbivores. Secondary consumer and tertiary consumer meat eaters is called as primary carnivores and secondary carnivores. So tertiary consumer examples lion, tigers. So first one producer, second one primary consumer, and then secondary consumer, and then tertiary consumer. So producer can prepare their own food, consumer cannot prepare their own food, depend on others. So decomposer means organism feed on dead organisms. So dead organism is converted into decomposer, decomposed compounds, that means decomposer, that means microorganisms, bacteria, fungi. So these are decomposing compounds. So herbivores, plant eaters, carnivores, meat eaters, omnivores, both eat animals and plants. So herbivores, carnivores, and then omnivores. So herbivores vegetarian, carnivores non-vegetarian, omnivores vegetarian and non-vegetarian. So this is easily meaning for herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. So next one, function of ecosystem. So function of ecosystem. To understand clearly the nature of the ecosystem, how to functioning. So function there are three: primary function, secondary function, and then tertiary function. So primary function is manufacture of starch through photosynthesis reaction. Secondary function is distributing energy in the form of food to all consumers. So tertiary function, living system die at particular stage. So dead system are decomposed into initiate the third function of ecosystem, namely cycling. So these are tertiary function. So function of ecosystem: primary function, secondary function, and then tertiary function. So functioning of ecosystem may be understood by the following terms: energy and material flow, food chain, food web, food pyramids. So this is photosynthesis reactions. So next one, forest ecosystem. So forest ecosystem is the one in which all tall and dense trees grow which support many animals and birds. So all over world 19% occupies forest of total land area. So in India, all over world 40% of the world land area. So in India occupies only 19%. Types of forest ecosystem: tropical rainforest, tropical deciduous forest, tropical deciduous forest, temperate rainforest, temperate deciduous forest, tropical scrub forest. So tropical rainforest, high temperature. So like sandal, lion, tiger. So these are animals present in the tropical rainforest. Tropical deciduous forest is a warm climate. So animals like deer, fox, rabbit. So temperate rainforest. So temperate rainforest found in adequate rainfall. So like trees, and then animals, fox, cats. So temperate deciduous forest found in moderate temperature. So animals, deer, fox. Tropical scrub forest, so dry climate. so animals, deer, fox, etc. So characteristics of forest ecosystem. So forest ecosystem characterized by a warm temperature, adequate rainfall, maintained climate, support many wild animals and protect biodiversity. So soil is enriched in minerals, so support growth of trees. So penetration of light is so poor, so the conversion of organic matter into nutrients is very fast. So structure and function of forest ecosystem. So components, there are two components, abiotic and biotic components. So abiotic means non-living components, biotic means living components. So abiotic means physical and chemical components. Biotic means living components, producer, consumer, and then decomposer. So producer, plants absorb sunlight and produce food through the photosynthesis reaction. Example, trees. Consumer, primary consumer, herbivores. Secondary consumer, primary carnivores. Tertiary consumer, secondary carnivores. So secondary consumer, primary carnivores. Example, snake, birds. Tertiary consumer, called as secondary carnivores, animals like tiger, lion. So decomposer, that means microorganism, bacteria and fungi. So next one, aquatic ecosystem. So aquatic ecosystem is called as running water and then standing water ecosystem. So that means running water ecosystem is called as a river ecosystem. So running water of a stream or a river is usually well oxygenated. So yes, river ecosystem. So river ecosystems absorb oxygen from the air. So characteristics of river ecosystem: fresh water, due to mixing of water, so dissolved oxygen content is more. So large number of nutrients present in the river. Structure and function of river ecosystem. So components, there are two, abiotic and then biotic components. Abiotic, physical and chemical components, temperature, light, pH, nutrients, organic and inorganic components. Biotic components, producer, consumer and then decomposer. Producer, phytoplankton, algae, water grasses. Primary consumer, secondary consumer and then decomposer. So primary consumer, water insects, snails, fishes. Secondary consumer, birds and mammals. Decomposer, microorganism, bacteria and fungi. So then biodiversity. So bio means life, diversity means variety. So biodiversity means variety of life. So biodiversity means variety of life. So biodiversity is called as a variety and variability among all group of living organisms. So it is called as biodiversity. So variety and variability among all group of living organism and the ecosystem is called as biodiversity. So classification of biodiversity. So there are three classifications. So biodiversity is classified into three: genetic biodiversity, species biodiversity, community or ecosystem biodiversity. So genetic biodiversity, genetic diversity is the diversity within the species. So that means genetic biodiversity. So examples: teak wood varieties. So Indian teak, Burma teak, and then another one example, rice varieties. So all rice varieties. So species diversity. So species diversity between the different species. So plant species and then animal species. So plant species, apple, mango, grapes. Animal species, lion, tiger. Third one, community or ecosystem biodiversity. So diversity at the ecological or habitat level is called as diversity. Ecosystem diversity or community diversity. So example, river ecosystem. So next one, values of biodiversity. So values of biodiversity. So biodiversity is virtual for healthy biosphere. So must stable and proper functioning of the biosphere. So biodiversity, values of biodiversity, there are 6 values. First one consumptive use value, second one productive use value, third one social value, fourth one ethical value, fifth one aesthetic value, sixth one optional value. So first one consumptive use value. So consumptive use value means so directly used as the many plants are used in the primary healthcare is preparation for drugs. So drugs is prepared from many plants. So also fuels, food. So food, drugs, and then many medicinal plants. So these are consumptive use value. Second one productive use value. So productive use value means commercial value. So these products are marketed and sold. So make your own products and then sales in a market. So that's it. Productive use value. So animal product, silkworm, silk from silkworm, wool from sheep, musk from musk deer, leather from animals. So plant, wood for paper industry. So these are productive use value. So animal product, silk, silkworm, wool, sheep, leather for all animals. So plant, wood for paper industry. Social value. Social value is the manner in which biodiversity sources are used in the society. So example, holy plants, holy animals. So holy plants, tulasi, neem, lotus. Holy animals, cow, snake. Then ethical value. So ethical value means that a species may or may not be used is known as ethical value. Holy river, holy tree. So holy river means river Ganga. Holy tree means Tulasi. So next one aesthetic value. So aesthetic means beautiful nature of plants and animals insist as to protect the biodiversity. Example ecotourism. So people from various places spend a lot of time and most visible the beautiful areas. So this type of tourism is known as ecotourism. Then optional value. So optional value of a biodiversity suggests that any species may be proved to be a valuable species after some day. So this is optional value. So that means unknown species may be proved to a valuable species too after some day. So this one is optional value. So example, growing biotechnology field, searching a species for cancer disease and AIDS disease. So many plants is growing for the research purpose. So endemic species. So endemic species and endangered species. So endemic species is known as so species at a particular area are called as endemic species. Endangered species at a critical level to reduce the quantity of numbers of species. So it is endangered species. So endemic species, the species which are confined to a particular area are called endemic species. So next one, red data book. Red data book contains the list of endangered species of plants and animals. So list of endangered species of plants and animals is called as red data book. So next one, hotspot of biodiversity. So hotspots are the geographical areas which possesses high endemic species. Hotspot are the geographical areas which possesses high endemic species. So all over world 25 hotspot of biodiversity present, out of which 2 are present in India. So India there are 2 hotspots are present, Eastern Himalayas and then Western Ghats. So Eastern Himalayas means Indo-Burma region, Western Ghats Sri Lanka region. So Eastern Himalayas, Nepal, Bhutan, neighboring states of northern India. So Eastern Himalayas, Indo-Burma region, Western Ghats, Sri Lanka region. So next one, threats to biodiversity. So threats means any disturbance in a natural ecosystem tends to reduce the biodiversity is known as threats to biodiversity. So any disturbance in a natural ecosystem tends to reduce biodiversity is called as threats to biodiversity. So threats to biodiversity, there are three types of threats to biodiversity. First one, habitat loss. Second one, poaching. Third one, man wildlife conflicts. So first one, habitat loss. So loss of population of interbreeding organism. So that means habitat loss. So factors affecting the habitat loss. So first one, deforestation. So deforestation, forests and grasslands are cleared for agricultural lands or developmental projects. Many species disintegrate due to loss of natural habitat. Second one, destruction of wetlands, developmental activities, habitat fragmentation, raw materials, production of drugs, illegal trade, developmental activities in forest areas. So second one, poaching. So poaching means killing of animals or hunting of animals. So killing means subsistence poaching, hunting means commercial poaching. So poaching is there are two types of poaching: commercial poaching and then subsistence poaching. So subsistence poaching means killing of animals. Commercial poaching means hunting of animals. So what are the factors influencing the poaching? Human population, commercial activity, wildlife products, wealth of wildlife, importance of wildlife. So examples, some examples for poaching. So blue morpho butterfly, making attractive trays. Elephant feet for making ashtrays. Elephant for ivory. So these are some examples for poaching. So third one, marine wildlife conflicts. So marine wildlife conflicts arise when wildlife start causing immense damage and danger to the man. So some examples of man wildlife conflicts. Sambalpur, Odisha. 195 humans were killed by elephants. And then Royal Chitwan National Park, Kathmandu. Man-eating tiger killed 16 Nepals and 4 years child. Sanjay Gandhi National Park, Mumbai. Leopards killed 14 persons. So these are examples of man-wildlife conflicts. So conservation of how to conserve the biodiversity from marine wildlife conflicts. So make available of adequate food and water for wildlife. Construction of works in forest area must be stopped. So there are two conserve method for the marine wildlife conflicts. So first one, make available of adequate food and water for wildlife. Second one, construction works in forest must be stopped. Endangered species. So endangered species is said to be endangered when its number has been reduced to a critical level. So endangered species list, a list of endangered species is called as red data book. So this figure shows the some endangered species. So endemic species. So species which are found in particular region are known as endemic species. Fauna and flora species. Fauna means plants. Fauna means animals. Flora means plants. So next one, conservation of biodiversity. So how to conserve the biodiversity? So conservation of biodiversity, the management of biosphere for the sustainable benefit to meet the needs of future generation. So is the definition for conservation of biodiversity, the management of biosphere for the sustainable benefit to meet the needs of the future generation. So factors affecting the biodiversity. So human activities, poaching of wildlife, discharge of effluents, the climate factors, global warming, ozone layer depletion, acid rains. So advantages of biodiversity, recreation, tourism, drugs. So then types of biodiversity, there are two types of biodiversity. In situ conservation. In situ conservation means involves production of fauna and flora species within the natural habit, is known as in situ conservation method. So in situ conservation involves production of fauna and flora species within the natural habits. There are 5 methods. Biosphere reserves first one, national park second one, wildlife sanctuaries third one, gene sanctuaries fourth one, fifth one other projects. So first one, biosphere resource. Methods of in situ conservation, there are 5. First one, biosphere resource, number of available 7, national park number of available 80, wildlife sanctuaries number of 420, gene sanctuaries, that means botanical gardens 120. So biosphere resource, first one, biosphere resource covers area of more than 5000 square kilometer, product spaces for long time. So some examples, Nandana Devi Uttar Pradesh and Manas Assam. So in Tamil Nadu, Nilgiri and Gulf of Mannar. So role of biosphere resource, protect endangered species, site of recreation and tourism, useful for education and research purpose. So second one, national park. National park covers area of about 100 to 500 square kilometer, conserve wildlife and environment. So examples, National Park Gujarat. So role of national park for tourism without affecting the environment, protect and propagate develop of wildlife. So third one, wildlife sanctuaries. So wildlife sanctuaries conserve animals and birds. So some examples of wildlife sanctuaries in Tamil Nadu, Mudumalai Wildlife Sanctuaries. So Mudumalai Wildlife Sanctuaries is production for elephant, and Vadanangal Bird Sanctuaries. So these two are Tamil Nadu, and other than other state examples. So role of wildlife sanctuaries, protects animals only. So fourth one, gene sanctuaries conserve plants. So examples, citrus sanctuaries North India, pitcher plant North India. So gene sanctuaries role, conserve plants. So other projects, some other projects in conservation of animals, Project Lion, Project Tiger, Project Lion, Crocodile Project, and then Project Elephants. So these are some other projects for conservation of animals. So advantages of in situ conservation method. So this method is very cheap and convenient method. The species get adjusted to the natural disorders, drought, flood, forest fires. So disadvantages, large area is needed, maintenance is not proper due to pollution. So ex situ conservation, second one, ex situ conservation method. So ex situ conservation involves production of fauna and flora species outside the natural habitats. So role of ex situ conservation, maintenance of endangered plants and animal species, preserve more important species. So methods of ex situ conservation. So first one, NBPGR, National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources. It is located in New Delhi. Conserve used cryopreservation techniques to preserve agriculture and horticultural crops. So cryopreservation technique involves the preservation of seeds. So second one, National Bureau of Animal Genetic Research, located at Karnal, Haryana. So third one, National Facility for Plant Tissue Culture Respiratory, NFPTCR, conservation of variety of crab plants. So advantages of ex situ conservation methods, species are assured for food, water, endangered species are preserved. Demerits, expensive method, freedom of wildlife is lost. Thank you.